Welcome back to Justice Insight Cam. We bring you unfiltered, real-world police interactions recorded straight from body cameras. Moving beyond the video, we analyze the facts, legal boundaries, and critical takeaways from each case. Let us explore the reality of justice.
Engine off, step out of the vehicle.
There's a permit
now.
right there on the dash.
I see it, doesn't matter. Step out now.
I'm lawfully parked. I'm getting out. My hands are visible.
Keep them that way. Stand right there. Hands
I'm
where I can see them.
recording this interaction.
Not anymore. Put it away.
There's no need for this.
We'll see. Don't move.
The parking space in front of the Harold H. Burton Federal Building and Courthouse in Cleveland, Ohio, had a sign that was impossible to misread. Authorized judicial parking only. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Violators will be towed. That sign had been posted there for 8 years. Every federal judge in Cleveland knew about these spaces. Every courthouse employee knew about them. Every regular downtown visitor knew about them. At 2:27 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon in September 2024, Judge Stephanie Warren eased her Nissan Altima into one of those spaces, exactly like she'd done dozens of times before. She had a 2:45 p.m. hearing. She was a few minutes ahead of schedule. She displayed her federal judiciary parking permit on her dashboard, the one with her name, her judicial title, and the official seal of the United States courts. She grabbed her briefcase, checked her phone, and was reaching for the door handle when she heard knocking on her window. It was aggressive knocking, the kind that makes you jump. A Cleveland police officer was standing at her driver's window, already writing something on a citation pad. Judge Warren had no idea that over the next 31 minutes, this officer would make a chain of shockingly wrong decisions that would end in her unlawful detention. But what happened next changed everything. Here's what makes this story cut deeper than the others. Judge Stephanie Warren wasn't some newly appointed judge still learning the ropes. She'd been on the federal bench for 11 years. She'd presided over 2,400 cases. She'd sentenced people to decades in prison. She'd written judicial opinions cited in 7 circuits. She was one of the most respected judges in Ohio. And Officer Daniel Torres looked at her, a 49-year-old black woman in a professional suit, sitting in a legally parked car with valid credentials, and decided she didn't belong. They told me stories like this wouldn't matter to anyone anymore, that people are tired of hearing about injustice, but you're still here, still listening, and that proves them wrong. Like this video right now, share it, subscribe. Let's make sure accountability stories don't disappear into silence. Now, let's continue. Judge Stephanie Warren had worked for every single thing she'd achieved in life, and none of it had come easy. She grew up in East Cleveland, the daughter of a factory worker and a cafeteria manager. Her parents worked multiple jobs to keep their family afloat. Money was always tight, or college seemed impossible. But Stephanie had been brilliant in school. Straight A's through high school. Top of her class, she earned a full ride to Cleveland State University, where she majored in political science and economics. She graduated summa cum laude. She got into Case Western Reserve University School of Law on a scholarship. Law school had been brutal. The competition was intense. The workload was crushing. Stephanie worked part-time jobs to cover expenses the scholarship didn't pay. She studied until 2 a.m. most nights. She made law review her second year. She graduated in the top 5% of her class. After graduation, she had spent 5 years as a federal public defender, representing people who couldn't afford attorneys. She'd learned how to fight for clients the system had written off. She'd won cases other lawyers thought were unwinnable. She'd seen how the criminal justice system worked from the inside, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Then she'd gone into private practice for 8 years, handling complex civil litigation. She'd made partner. She'd built a reputation as a fierce but fair litigator. She'd won multi-million-dollar cases. She'd earned the respect of judges and opposing counsel. In 2013, President Barack Obama nominated her to the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio. At age 38, she was one of the youngest federal judges in the country. The Senate confirmed her 94-2. Even senators who typically opposed Obama's nominees had voted for her because her qualifications were undeniable. For 11 years, Judge Warren had presided over her courtroom with a reputation for being brilliant, meticulous, and absolutely fair. She didn't play favorites. She held prosecutors to high standards. She made defense attorneys work for their arguments. She followed the law precisely, even when she personally disagreed with the outcome. She had handled everything federal courts see: civil rights cases, patent disputes, criminal prosecutions, complex commercial litigation. She'd presided over trials that lasted weeks. She'd ruled on constitutional questions that affected thousands of people. She'd written 173 published judicial opinions. Her colleagues respected her. Attorneys prepared harder for cases in her courtroom because they knew she'd catch sloppy work. Law clerks competed to work for her because learning from Judge Warren was like getting a master's degree in federal procedure. She'd also been particularly active in ruling on police misconduct cases. Over 11 years, she'd presided over 19 civil rights lawsuits involving allegations of excessive force, illegal searches, or false arrests. She'd ruled for plaintiffs in 12 of those cases, finding that officers had violated constitutional rights. She'd ruled for defendants in 7 cases where the evidence showed officers had acted within legal bounds. She understood policing. She understood the challenges officers faced, but she also understood the Constitution, and she didn't tolerate violations of it. That Tuesday afternoon, Judge Warren had spent the morning in her chambers, working on an opinion in a complicated securities fraud case. She had a 2:45 hearing on a motion to suppress evidence in a drug trafficking prosecution, but she needed to leave by 2:20 to make it to the courthouse with time to spare. She'd driven her Nissan Altima. She'd bought it used 3 years ago. Nothing fancy, just reliable transportation to the federal building. She'd pulled into one of the judicial parking spaces out front at exactly 2:27 p.m. She'd placed her federal judiciary parking permit on the dashboard, clearly visible through the windshield. The permit had her name printed on it: Honorable Stephanie Warren, U.S. District Judge. It had the seal of the federal courts. It had an expiration date of December 2024. Everything about it was official and legitimate. Judge Warren was gathering her things when Officer Daniel Torres knocked on her window. She rolled it down, confused. "Yes, officer. You can't park here. This is a loading zone. I'm writing you a ticket." Judge Warren looked at him, then at the sign directly in front of her car. "Officer, I'm parked legally. There's a sign right there that says, Authorized judicial parking 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's 2:30 in the afternoon." Torres gave the sign only a quick glance. "I don't see any judicial plates on this vehicle. You need to move it now or it's getting towed." Judge Warren felt the first stirring of frustration. This was absurd. "I don't need judicial plates. I have a federal judiciary parking permit displayed on my dashboard. You can see it through the windshield." Torres bent down to peer through the windshield. He studied the permit for maybe 2 seconds. Then he straightened up. "That permit looks fake. Step out of the vehicle. I need to verify your identity and search for other violations." And that's when Judge Stephanie Warren realized this had nothing to do with parking and everything to do with assumptions. She took a breath and made a decision. She pulled out her phone and started recording. "My name is Judge Stephanie Warren. I'm a United States District Court judge. I'm parked in a space designated for federal judges with a valid permit. And you're about to detain me without cause while my phone records this entire interaction. I suggest you look at that permit more carefully before this becomes a very expensive mistake for your department." Torres's expression hardened. He didn't like being challenged. "Turn off that phone and step out of the vehicle. I'm not turning off my phone. I have a legal right to record this interaction, and I'm not stepping out of my vehicle without a valid reason. And so, what violation of law have I committed that justifies ordering me out of the car? You're parked illegally, and your permit appears fraudulent. I'm parked in a judicial parking space. The sign is right there. My permit is valid and issued by the Administrative Office of the United States Courts. Nothing about this situation gives you legal authority to order me out of the vehicle or conduct a search. If you're still watching right now, you're the proof that these stories matter. Every view keeps this alive. Every like tells the algorithm this is important. Every share reaches someone who needs to see it. Don't let this story disappear. Like, share, subscribe. Now, back to what happened. Torres made his decision. Instead of looking more carefully at the permit, instead of calling courthouse security to verify, instead of acknowledging he might be wrong, he opened Judge Warren's door. Step out now, or I'm removing you. Judge Warren had prosecuted and presided over enough cases to know that physically resisting would make things worse. She stepped out of her car, phone still recording, and spoke clearly. I'm complying under protest. I'm Judge Stephanie Warren, United States District Court. You're detaining me without legal cause. Everything you do from this moment is being documented. Torres took her phone. You're not allowed to record. That's incorrect. I have a First Amendment right to record public officials performing public duties. Taking my phone is an unlawful seizure. Torres ignored her and set the phone on the roof of her car, still recording. Then he told her to turn around and place her hands on the vehicle. Are you detaining me? Yes. On what legal basis? Suspicion of fraud regarding your parking permit. Suspicion based on what? The permit has official seals, my name, my title, an expiration date. It's displayed in the location required by the permit itself. What specific facts make you believe it's fraudulent? Torres didn't answer. He patted her down. Aggressive, thorough, humiliating. Judge Warren stood perfectly still, keeping her voice level. This is an unlawful search. I haven't committed any crime. I'm a federal judge parked in a judicial parking space. You're violating my Fourth Amendment rights. The Paytown found nothing except Judge Warren's wallet, keys, and the phone Torres had already seized. Torres pulled out her wallet and opened it. Inside were her driver's license, credit cards, her federal judicial ID card, and her bar association card. He looked at the judicial ID official seal. Professional photo, Honorable Stephanie Warren, United States District Judge, Northern District of Ohio. Torres stared at it for a long moment. Judge Warren watched his face as realization slowly dawned. His expression went from aggressive to uncertain to horrified. You're actually a federal judge. Yes, as I've told you repeatedly, as my parking permit indicates, as my judicial ID confirms, I'm parked in a judicial parking space because I'm a judge who works in this building. And you've just detained and searched me without cause, while I was legally parked and preparing to go to court for a hearing that starts in 15 minutes. Torres looked at the parking sign, then at the permit still on the dashboard, then at the judicial ID in his hand, then back at Judge Warren. The phone on the car roof was still recording everything. I was told that someone was parked illegally. By whom? I received a call. From whom? What did they say exactly? Because I've been parked here for less than 3 minutes, and I'm parked legally with valid credentials. Torres had no good answer because there had been no call. He'd seen a black woman in a modest car parking in a judicial space and made an assumption. That was it. Judge Warren held out her hand. My phone, my wallet, my keys. Return them all now. Torres handed everything back with shaking hands. I apologize, Your Honor. There was a misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding. You saw a black woman in a judicial parking space and decided she didn't belong there. You didn't look carefully at the permit. You didn't verify my identity before detaining me. You ordered me out of my car, conducted an unlawful search, and seized my phone. All of it is on video. All of it is a constitutional violation. Judge Warren checked her watch. 2:41 p.m. I have a hearing in 4 minutes. We'll be discussing this again very soon. What's your name and badge number? Torres. Daniel Torres. Badge 5294. Expect to hear from me, Officer Torres. Judge Warren got back in her car, grabbed her briefcase, and walked into the courthouse. She made it to her courtroom with 90 seconds to spare. She presided over the hearing with complete composure, ruling on the motion to suppress with the same analytical precision she brought to every case. But inside, she was furious. After the hearing, she went back to her chambers and called the chief judge of the district, Judge Michael Baxter. Mike, I need to report something. I was just detained by a Cleveland police officer in front of the courthouse. She explained everything. Judge Baxter listened in growing disbelief. He detained you after you showed him your judicial ED. After I told him I was a judge, showed him my permit, explained I was parked legally, and warned him he was making a mistake, he did it anyway. Where's this video? On my phone. I'm sending it to you now. Judge Warren sent the video. 3 minutes later, Judge Baxter called back. Stephanie, I don't even have words. He searched you on the street in front of the courthouse. Yes. What do you want to do? I want to file a lawsuit and I want reforms, because if this happened to me, a federal judge with every privilege and protection, imagine what happens to ordinary citizens. The lawsuit was filed 2 weeks later. It was written by Rebecca Martinez, a civil rights attorney Judge Warren had known for years. Martinez had argued cases in Judge Warren's courtroom and won some, lost some, but always respected the judge's fairness. Now she was representing Judge Warren, and she was out for blood. The complaint was 41 pages. It alleged false detention, unlawful search and seizure, Fourth Amendment violations, First Amendment violations for seizing the phone, assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and deprivation of civil rights under Section 1983. It named Officer Torres and the city of Cleveland. The story broke nationally within hours. Federal judge detained, searched at courthouse, claims racial profiling. The video from Judge Warren's phone was released with her permission. Within 24 hours, 4.7 million people had watched a federal judge get detained and searched for parking legally in a judicial parking space. The public reaction was immediate and fierce. Legal experts were unanimous in their condemnation. This is one of the most egregious examples of racial profiling I've seen, said a Yale law professor on MSNBC. She's a federal judge. She's in a marked judicial space. She has official credentials, and he detained and searched her anyway. There's no explanation except racial bias. The Cleveland Police Department announced an internal investigation. But before they could complete it, something else happened that forced immediate action. 11 other people came forward, all black, all professionals, who had been stopped by Officer Daniel Torres under questionable circumstances over the past 4 years. A doctor detained for suspicious behavior while entering a hospital where he worked. A lawyer questioned about trespassing in a courthouse where she was attending a hearing. A business owner accused of loitering outside his own store. All black, all professional, all stopped by Torres without legitimate cause. The pattern was undeniable. The internal investigation pulled Torres's complete record. In 6 years with Cleveland PD, he'd made 437 traffic and pedestrian stops. Of those stops, 361 were of black individuals, 82.6% in a city that was 50% black. His searches of black individuals occurred at a rate 3 times higher than searches of white individuals. His arrest rate showed similar disparities. Torres had received 14 complaints over 6 years. All 14 had been marked unfounded or not sustained. not one had resulted in discipline. But when investigators actually reviewed those complaints with fresh eyes, they found the same pattern. Torres routinely stopped black professionals in situations where their presence was completely legitimate, questioned their right to be there, and detained them based on vague justifications that didn't withstand scrutiny. Stories like this survive because of people like you. Every view proves these matter. Every share reaches someone who needs to know this. Every subscriber tells me to keep going. Don't stop now, like, share, subscribe. Let's see what happened next. Officer Daniel Torres was fired 3 weeks after Judge Warren's detention. Not suspended, fired. The department's investigation concluded he'd violated multiple policies and engaged in a clear pattern of racial profiling. He appealed through his union. And the appeal was denied when the review board watched the video of him detaining a federal judge in a judicial parking space after she had identified herself, repeatedly. But the fallout went beyond Torres. 2 supervisors who had dismissed complaints against Torres were demoted for failing to identify his pattern of discriminatory stops. The entire traffic enforcement division was restructured. Cleveland's police chief held a press conference apologizing to Judge Warren personally and announcing immediate reforms. Judge Warren's lawsuit went to settlement negotiations quickly. The city knew they couldn't win. The video was too clear. The violation was too obvious. A federal judge as the plaintiff meant the jury would be predisposed to believe her and skeptical of police justifications. The settlement was reached 6 months after the incident, $875,000. But Judge Warren demanded more than money. The settlement required all officers receive 60 hours of implicit bias training. Stop data analyzed monthly for racial disparities. Officers with statistically significant disparities automatically reviewed and retrained. Independent Civilian Review Board, with authority to investigate and discipline all officers, equipped with body cameras that activate automatically any detention of a judge, attorney, or court officer, must be reported to supervisors within 1 hour. Written justification required for all searches, federal monitoring for 4 years. Judge Warren donated the entire settlement to organizations providing legal aid to people who couldn't afford attorneys in civil rights cases. This was never about money, she said at a press conference. It was about accountability. It was about making sure no other person, judge or janitor, gets treated this way because an officer makes assumptions based on skin color. A reporter asked, "Do you think $875,000 is adequate compensation?" Judge Warren paused. No amount of money compensates for being treated like a criminal while doing your job. No amount erases the humiliation of being searched on a public street. What matters is the changes that come from this. The training, the oversight, the accountability, that's what will protect the next person. The video is still online. Over 7 million views now. It's shown in police maze as an example of what racial profiling looks like. It's used in law school civil rights courses. It's cited in judicial training about implicit bias. And every time someone watches it, they see what Judge Warren saw that day. That credentials don't protect you. That professional status doesn't protect you. That even being a federal judge doesn't protect you when someone looks at your skin color and makes assumptions. Judge Stephanie Warren is still on the federal bench, still presiding over cases, still ruling with the same fairness and precision that's defined her 11 years as a judge. She's presided over 3 more police misconduct cases since her own detention. She's ruled for plaintiffs in 2 of them, finding constitutional violations. She ruled for the defendants in one where the evidence showed the officers acted appropriately because being a victim of police misconduct didn't make her biased against all police. It made her more determined to distinguish between officers who follow the law and those who don't. She still parks in judicial parking spaces, still displays her permit on the dashboard, but she's more aware now, more watchful, She notices when people stare at her car. She pays attention to who's around when she's parking, because even federal judges aren't safe from officers who see race before credentials. But she also knows something else. Documentation works. Video doesn't lie. And when you have the knowledge, the resources, and the determination to fight back, accountability is possible. Not guaranteed, not easy, but possible. And sometimes that has to be enough. If you made it this far, you already know this story matters. Prove it. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to understand why accountability isn't optional. Subscribe so more stories like this reach people who need to see them. Judge Warren still has that video on her phone. She'll never delete it because it's evidence not just of what happened to her, but of what happens to countless others who don't have her platform or resources. And every time she sees it, she's reminded why her work matters, why rules matter, why the Constitution matters, and why fighting for justice isn't just her job, it's her responsibility.
We appreciate you tuning in. If this breakdown helped you understand the situation better, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Justice Insight Cam. Stay aware, stay protected, and we will see you next time.